Recording in progress. Is it her?
It's a white car, no,
White car. Who is it?
small. It's going around the. It's part. I don't know who it is.
Oh, it might be America.
Oh, it might be nice, yeah.
Okay, so we're live, ready to go?
Yeah, all recording is on, everything.
All right, on a gadi wahi ka jokwa. So we don't see us, Nyari. Gazi dans Rio, you're just go, no G on Durget's going to start on that Roni. Retin over do Gurunga Gari, I guess you have start to ask Kanka Garako, then I tin a stadi Honzagi. No, a great Scott Neganungwe. Retin over do sour year and the Puntun Hutsa that goes. Dan a grades in Nig and Yatter a Gerdon, a Guego or Quadre, a Moko Supa. Retinora do yet sort of gunha near down of the headstone, I can go real that the Hawakwe. I look at again, had damn down our own heads and the Gazat Stassera Neganungwe. Damn down our own heads and the Gazat Stassera. Ne Asat Nigat Dar again, Ganyaga Haga, Retinato, and not Roni, don't know risk it again. Damn down our own heads and Guego. On a go to Guyana, that's the go in the Scana. Guyana one and gonna go here. Okay, so as always, as you know, that whenever we get together for meeting, council, ceremony, anything of importance, we always have to carry out the Gadi Wadekwa first. This is where we identify and give thanks to the things in creation that have created us and the things that we need to continue to sustain us. So we always begin by giving our thanks to the great spiral of creation. That when you look up into the nighttime sky, you are not looking into cold, dark, empty, lifeless space the way that non-native science would lead you to believe. No, instead, you are looking into the living, vibrant body of our great mother, into the body of Sky Woman herself. And so we give thanks to her, to Sky Woman, as it is she who has given us spirit. From there, we give our thanks to the beating heart of our Mother Earth, to our grandmother Moon. It is she who regulates the flow of the lifeblood in all things here upon our Mother Earth. And so we give thanks to her, Grandma Moon, as it is she who has given us blood. From there, we give our thanks to our Mother Earth, regardless of what color you are, what language you speak, or where you have grown out from our Mother Earth, or what you imagine divides us. We have all grown from the same mother, making us all one family, sisters, brothers, all relations together. And so we give thanks to her, to our Mother Earth, as it is she who has given us body. From there, we give our thanks to all the women, from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother, as they carry the sacred title of life giver into the world and are to be honored and respected as such. We give thanks to them, for in this world, they give us purpose and direction. From there, we give our thanks to the life force, the energy that flows between all things. This is the energy that connects the you to the tops of the trees, to the leaves, to the bugs on the trees, to the roots of the trees, to the energy that flows between all living things. And so we give thanks and identify that energy, that life force. And we identify it as Sawierda. From there, we give thanks to Gundun Hetzerat Dawes. This is the life givers, the mothers in all strains of life. When we identify that we give thanks to them for in this world, again, they give us our purpose and our direction. We gave our thanks to all the waters and all the shapes and forms they come in, to all the medicines and all the shapes and forms they come in. And this is to remind ourselves that we are made of 100% water. So we, having consciousness, are the medicine of Sky Woman. That to be in this world, to be of physical, to have a physical life, to have a spirit, to have a body, to have a consciousness, This is a very sacred gift that we have been given in this world. A very sacred responsibility. And that's for each of us to manage that responsibility to its fullest. It's our individual responsibility to evolve to our fullest capabilities, to push ourselves to unknowns, to expand into areas of peace that have not been explored before. This is our responsibility as humans, as evolving, gaining knowledge, giving us consciousness, giving us a larger scope of being, a larger sense of being. Then as we grow into this, as we are water, as we are the medicines of Sky Woman, that we grow into responsibility, that we are not just to be walking around in this world like a bunch of zombies, walking around in this world waging war, that this is a corruption that is anti-life, and this is a corruption of the non-native people. And we're seeing this corruption develop more and more on a daily basis into something that is becoming extremely out of hand, out of control, where when you think for at least 3,000 years, the non-native people, the white man, the European, has been locked in war, and there's been a certain level of, if you want to say, like rules between them, even to the point of imagine how uncivilized the non-native society is, the Europeans, that they actually create laws governing war between them. And that means that they are a warring people, that their laws are to accommodate war. And any people of this, it's impossible for them to love their children because they keep exposing their children to war, to wars and to behaviors that is not an individual generation's design, but is a multi-generational corruption that stemming from thousands of years ago, that the participants in it of today have no clue of what is their origins or what is the design, the trajectory that they're on. They're just stupidly following the generation before them, their parents before them, all honoring war constantly. This is a ridiculousness within the non-native society that inflicts this stupidity of keeping war alive in the memory, in the minds of children, where, say, for instance, like in schools that use continuously every year, that you inflict your children with a thing called Memorial Day, to have them remember something from way before their time, something that even their parents don't even know about, but yet children of today are forced to remember a war from over 100 years ago that keeps them locked into perpetuating war. So anyways, this insanity today, this continued behavior is developing into something now that is, well, just quite crazy anyways. Still anything in the line or realm of war, of course, it's just insanity. But there's something very crucial that happened today, very revealing, something that everybody has to take cognizance of about what's happening to the white man in the white man's world. As you know, that what's been going on with the in the Ukraine, with Russia and Ukraine. Of course, the Western world doesn't have a proper perception of this. They got no clue really as to what is really happening there. You only got a version that the Western media is feeding you. And so you only know a lie in the West. But what has happened today is a completion of a action that Putin, Russia, set out to do. regardless of what Western media's take on this has been, no matter what any Western politician is saying, it really doesn't matter. They have been lying to you ever since this thing with Putin, Russia, the Ukraine has started. But
The bouquet book, do you have the bouquet book? No,
is it there?
it's in there, but is it on my side? That's your Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's you're on the Wi-Fi. So it's the one. If it's plugged in.
Okay, we got a little bit of a technical problem here we're dealing with, so 1 second.
It's not plugged in, not plugged in.
Why the hell wouldn't that be plugged in?
Because
what Russia has sent out to do all along, and the Western media, of course, just keeps lying or misleading everybody into thinking something else. But they're trying to project like Russia or Putin was losing credibility or whatever, like something like that in Russia. But the reality is they accomplished what they set out to do. They set out to annex parts of the Ukraine, and this is accomplished. But they're setting out to annex much more than that. But the first step in that journey has been accomplished today. And the statements that Putin made was identifying that now it will be forever Russian territory, that it is back within the Russian Federation. And what else did he say there? That the people there are, I forget word for word, but it's basically that the people in those annexed territories now are, for all intents and purposes, basically Russians, and they will be defended by Russia to whatever degree necessary. So this is what Russia, Putin had set out to do, and they done it. And regardless of what any Western media has said, lied about, today there was a huge shift in the white man's mind. Because not only was that said, now this is where you have to pay attention to what's really going, to what's happening on the world arena, to know what's going on in the white man's mind. Because mind you, first off, the white man himself doesn't know what's going on in the white man's mind, because he doesn't know how to read. He doesn't know how to read his own collective that he is a part of. He's too compartmentalized into his own self. He's too self-centered, so he cannot see the collective and what is happening to the collective. So you pay attention to what one white man said today. What one white man said today, Putin, identifies that there is a shift in world power, because no matter what the so-called United States or United Nations or NATO or whoever else, no matter what they say or have done over the past however long this has been going on now with the Ukraine, they haven't been able to stop what Putin's goal was. Putin accomplished it today. So now what they're doing is they're just trying to do a big mop-up, the Western world is trying to do a big mop-up of the lies that they have told everywhere, because now anyone will be seeing in the coming days, they will be saying, hey, what about all these stories you were telling us? Well, how come it's turning out this way? Almost the exact opposite from what the Western media has been projecting. Well, people are going to come to see this much more clear in the coming weeks. But the other thing that was said from the other side of the white man's mind today. Now, this is where you got to look at two things from within the white man's mind, within the broad spectrum of his mind. You got to know in which areas to look. So this one is one thing to look at, what Putin said today. this is a shift in world power. The so-called United States, forget it. They're not in that position any longer. They have no more credibility in as far as trying to be a moral compass or to say anything, because if they were, they would have went in and stopped what Putin, what they knew Putin's agenda was, to annex. And today he's successfully done this. Now it actually prevents the Western world from trying to claim anything within those annexed territories. Now Putin would be 100% justified in any kind of actions taken now within those territories. Okay, so what the other white man said was, on the other side of this schizophrenia, you have Putin on one side and Biden is on the other side. Now, what Biden said today is reveals the stupidity, but it reveals the what's the terminology for this? Fallibility, would that be? Where somebody's always trying to claim that they're infallible, that they are like righteous, but now to expose their fallibility, that they are not righteous, that this is something now that is going to slap the world in the face in the coming weeks as to why didn't so-called United States and NATO forces, why didn't they take the action in the previous months to stop what they knew what was coming, when instead of them just giving weapons to underqualified army, not that people fighting for their homes are not qualified, but when you put people fighting for their homes up against the Russian military might, that this is a machine, that this is no comparisons, nothing that the Ukrainian military could muster up to stand against Russia properly. So all the false stories that have been told in the past weeks of that, oh, the Ukraine has been gaining ground back, Russia has been pulling out, all of it is a lie. Today proves it. This is on the world stage. There's no way that anybody can present a false narrative any longer. Now, what the white man on the other side said, what Biden said, was that I posted it all over on sites all over Facebook, all different pages and that. I can't remember the exact quote right now, but it's Biden talking about Putin, saying that he can't think that he can just go into his neighboring country and annex land and think that he's going to get away with it, something like that. But anyways, I posted the direct quote of Biden. Can you look at my Facebook page and tell me what that quote is?
Yeah.
Very important for right now, what we're talking about anyways. So this was what was said today by Biden, the so-called president of the so-called United States. It's what?
He can seize his neighbor territory and get away with it. It's as simple as that.
He can't.
Yeah, he can.
Sound like you said he can.
No, he can't seize.
He can't. Now imagine, here is the white man, Biden, president of the so-called United States, saying he can't seize talking about Putin seizing Ukraine. He can't seize his neighbor's territory and think he can get away with it. Doesn't that sound kind of ridiculous? Doesn't that sound like the pot calling the kettle black? Somebody who is directly guilty of that, stealing, seizing somebody else's territory, and him saying that Putin can't get away with it. What kind of insanity is this? This is a white man's insanity. Now, does Biden realize, did he realize what he was saying when he said it? Or was he saying it out of anger and out of the reality of the weakened position that he is in of that, the fact is that he can't lift a finger. He can't do a goddamn thing to stop what Putin is doing in the Ukraine. All he could do is exacerbate the violence, because this is exactly what the United States has been doing, along with the so-called NATO and so-called Western allies, along with so-called Canada, is giving weapons to the Ukraine. To meet what end? When everybody on earth knows that the Ukraine, their military can't go up against the Russian military. And people think that that has been an actual war, skirmishes going on the ground. Come on. This is ridiculous for anybody to think, to believe Western media, that the Ukrainian military can gain ground against the Russian military. Everything that is happening there is by a script. They go in to put a little bit of pressure over here to distract the entire world, to distract the Ukrainian military, to go and focus over there, where over here is the real thing that they were doing. And so the reality of that, the Ukrainian military gaining any ground or against the Russian military, this is a pipe dream. Yes, they may have the fighting spirit. They may, in their minds, be justified in their actions, but it's like an elephant stepping on a flea, on a mouse, you know, like there's no comparing the two. So this is the two crazy things today within the mind of the white man. This corruption of Putin first saying, now this is forever now Russian territory, and they will defend it with Russian might. And then the other side of the corrupted white mind is Biden making this ridiculous statement of that that Putin cannot seize his neighbor's territory. So what this is now, you have to be looking from the perspective of the last 500 years here, not from a white man's perspective, but from the native perspective, in order to know and understand what is really happening. So from the native perspective, we're seeing always the schizophrenia of the white man. This is reflected in their collective thinking process. As you know, government, or whatever you want to call that, is basically a process of how to arrive at collective decision-making process. So it's the thinking process. Government, any government on earth, is the thinking process of that collective of people. So when you consider that over the past 500 years that we have been looking at a schizophrenic collective white mind, because of all the whites that have come here, they all come here under the agenda of colonial genocide. But each individual white person are all good people, are all nice people, friendly, happy people, but they're a part of a colonial genocide. So you think of what kind of person it takes to be a part of that. How could a person who is a good person be a part of and connected to colonial genocide? And when we say colonial genocide, people will say, oh, that's a thing of the past. Is colonization a thing of the past? Let's identify what colonization is. Colonization is doing exactly what Putin is doing today in the Ukraine. Exactly what Biden says that he can't do. Colonization is to go into some other person's or people's territory, to annex them, and to make their territory yours so that you can extract whatever resources, life force from within that territory. So this is colonization. This is what the white man done. As soon as they stepped foot here in Turtle Island, they got their two of their really nice guys, by the way, Lewis and Clark, as individuals, nice guys, nice people. But they got two of their people to go across the entire country to survey, to find out where this mineral is, or that mineral, or this resource, or that resource, to find out where the best trees are, the best water, you know, to find out where all the different, what the white man calls resources are. So this is part of colonization. You go out to identify, first you seize the territory, then you map the territory, and you identify where the resources are. And then you go and extract them. That's colonization. Has colonization ever stopped here, or is it something that is continuing here in Turtle Island? Are they not still, based on old maps, even from Lewis and Clark, still old surveys from that far back, and of course surveys that have been done every generation from then up until now, that every individual who is a citizen of so-called United States or Canada all embarks or creates a corporation to start a business, and that corporation takes advantage of what their colonization process done of surveying the land, of surveying where your corporation can go and exploit. So you today, some white man that has been here for maybe just a couple of weeks, or a white man that's been here for a few hundred years, you get your loan from your government to go and extract the resources from that land that they surveyed for you as a worker, for them, for you to go and do. And so this process has never stopped. Colonization has never stopped. It's a process that is still ongoing. So it's something today that is out of the mind of the non-native people. They don't view of what they're doing today. They don't view themselves driving in a car in rush hour traffic. They don't view that as colonization. They just view it as their daily lives. Well, 500 years ago, all the colonizers that were shipped over here from Britain were going about their daily lives on a daily basis. And they had rush hour traffic in the morning back then. If it was wherever the white man lived, wherever their little village was, there was a line of traffic going into the forest where they would go and to steal whatever they needed to survive here in our land from our territories. And this is what was done 500 years ago, and this is what is done right up until this day. So the reality of colonization and genocide is that it's something that the white man, the people who participate in it, are, by mere virtue of being who they are, makes themselves oblivious to their own actions. It cancels out. You know, does a murderer want to see themselves as a murderer? No, they don't. They want to see themselves as something else, maybe as a clown. So a murderer such as like John Wayne Gacy, well, he'll dress himself up as a clown, but he's actually a murderer. They don't want to see themselves as what they actually are. And so the reality of what we have been fighting and resisting for 500 years is it's different than what the rest of the world thinks that they know or understand about the last 500 years. Even the non-native people who are currently, let's say, our friends who are on board and helping, working with us, I can tell you with 100% certainty that they do not understand still, even what we are still fighting today, what we are still resisting. There is something greater than what the non-native people can comprehend, what the brain can comprehend. Because within a democracy, again, this is a state of schizophrenia. And people who are within a state of schizophrenia who cannot understand anything, it's impossible, physically impossible to understand when you're in a state of schizophrenia. because you are floating between different identities constantly. And even the person who is schizophrenic, they cannot ever tell. They are never knowledgeable of which identity is overpowering right now and the one that's in control of the body. And in a schizophrenic mind, there is at least 3 identities. Because before that, it's called bipolar. So there's at least 3 identities within a schizophrenic mind. But generally, there's on average 5 identities within the schizophrenic mind. So this means that within the individual who's schizophrenic, this means there's constant fight going on 5 different ways, which means it's a battle on 25 different fronts within the individual schizophrenic mind. And this is extrapolated to the collective. And so you can just look at, well, then if it's this way within the individual mind, you extrapolate that to the collective, then let's look at, well, so-called countries like the so-called United States. How many different battle fronts are they fighting on? How many different battlefields is that schizophrenic mind of the so-called United States battling on? Now, really schizophrenic, because in the so-called United States, you got a bunch of hippies, hippie-minded people who are just love and happiness, peace, love, and happiness, and they just want everything to be nice, and they want to be living good in the world. But they live in the so-called United States. They vote, they participate, they pay their taxes. And that means they are supporting the warmongers. So this exemplifies the state of schizophrenia within anything so-called government that is subscribed to so-called democracy. You are automatically lock yourself into a state of schizophrenia. And so we look at, again, the battlefields, the battlefronts that the schizophrenic mind is battling on. Within, if there was just 5 identities within the mind, that's 25 different battlefields, because each one is fighting 5 different fronts. And even though you're fighting those 5, you think you're fighting them on the same front, you're not, because it's schizophrenia. In the mind of the schizophrenic, keep in mind that it's in one individual. But in order for there to be schizophrenic mind, that means they can never actually come into contact with each other, like be on the same battlefield. So they battle against each other, but not on the same battlefield. This is what keeps a person in a constant state of schizophrenia. Never the so-called psychologists or psychiatrists of today never actually address schizophrenia to fix it. Instead, what they do is they prescribe drugs to actually suppress other things from happening. So it doesn't deal with the reality. And this is what you can see when you extrapolate these understandings to the collective of what is schizophrenic. Extrapolate this understanding to what observing the so-called United States, so-called Canada, then you can understand on a larger scale why individuals are locked into the polar opposite of what they believe or what they represent about themselves. Everybody in so-called Canada, so-called United States, all wants to believe that they're good people. They all look at themselves as good people. Nobody's going to say, hey, I'm a piece of crap, and I'm always a bully, and I'm always starting fights, and therefore I'm a part of a gang of bullies, and we're always starting fights and wars. Nobody's going to say that in the so-called United States, even though that's the fact of them. So this behavior of the schizophrenic mind tells you that there is a point of critical mass that the schizophrenic mind locks itself into a suicidal process, a death spiral. Well, the collective of the white people now are locked into this death spiral. This death spiral now is it's begun today, where if you could say like an alligator that or crocodile stalking its prey. There's its prey. It's on the edge of the water, and the crocodile is just watching, just its eyeballs sticking up. That's where we've been for the past year and a half or so since this issue has begun with Putin and Russia and the Ukraine. It's just been there stalking its prey. Moving slowly and slowly, inching. Sometimes you think it's backing off, and this is what the Western media has portrayed. Such lies. That's why there's no legitimate reporters in the Western media, because they only present what the narrative that's given to them. So there's no reporters there. They're only telling you, reading you a script. So over the last couple of years, it says, oh, look, Putin is he's being pushed back. Putin is retreating. Well, today, you know what happened? Putin grabbed his prey and locked it into the death spiral. So this is where we're at now, in the death spiral. And this means that all white people, all people of European descent, you are now locked into a thing that isn't about war, that isn't about anything physical. It's playing out that way, you believe it is. But what it's really all about is within the white mind. Within the white mind, this is now what's happening. If it's I'll give you a best example here. If I can. Okay, so this is the collective white mind. It's the collective of all white people on earth. Whether you want to accept this or not, all white people are connected the same way that all Native people are connected. Our bloodline connects us. So, like it or not, you are connected to great evils. You are connected to murdering women in the name of God in the streets in front of their children. You are connected to murder around the world. Every white person is, whether you like it or not. It really doesn't matter what your perception of it is. The more that you resist it, the longer that you fight it, it means guaranteed you are not gonna survive through this process. If you accept the realities of what you have recorded about yourself, about what you have done, if you accept these realities and accept responsibility and set out to correct, then there's a possibility you might survive this process. This is the white man, it's the white world. This is their mind. This is what's happening. It's being turned inside out. So the left side is going from the right, it's going from the bottom, it's going from the top, it's going completely haywire. So it's in a time like this where you aren't going to make heads or tails of anything. Things are going to get a lot more insane now. And the harbinger of this message is what the white man collectively has done to the most sacred thing in creation. What he has now done to the water. Now we know that the waters worldwide have been on such a state of degradation that even just this past summer it was identified now that any rainwater on earth is no longer drinkable, that it's no longer good for humans. That's rainwater. Water falling out of the sky, no longer good for humans. Wow. The next step after that, just like when you get a boil water advisory in your community, the next step after that is don't touch the water at all. And the next step after that is that the water will kill you. The water will burn a hole through you. So here's the insanity. As everybody knows, this is what just took place in the last couple of days. The pipeline from the oil pipeline from Russia to Germany through the Baltic Sea has been sabotaged. It was reported the first day that there was a leak. And right away, first day, we said, that's sabotage. You know, we knew it right away. Now the world is saying it, it's sabotage. So this is the state here. Now think of this, these 5 identities in the schizophrenic mind. So here's these 5 identities. They're all fighting against each other. They're all just crazy. They just want to, there's not even an agenda, not even a specific enemy. It's just kill, kill for the sake of killing, because to the white man, in the white man's world, killing is a business. They make money off of it. They get rich off of it. So here's all these white people fighting, and something happened to all of them. Somebody sabotaged something, the water, sabotage the water. They claim it's a pipeline that sabotaged. That's how distorted the white man's mind is. They see a pipeline leaking into the water, and they say the pipeline was sabotaged. It's the water that's sabotaged. But here's all these guys fighting, and they say, hey, wait a minute. They don't know who it is. They're fighting against each other. Basically, imagine like a battle royale, like wrestling, you know, like a bunch of crazy guys in a ring, just to see whoever's left standing. Whoever's left standing, just like in wrestling, they get all the money. Okay, so this is what war is all about in the white man's world. So they're all fighting. And then all of a sudden, hey, what happened? Somebody sabotaged our water. Sabotaged my water. Sabotaged all 5 of these crazy guys who are fighting against each other. Sabotaged all their water. You know what's going on right now in the world? So-called UN, so-called UK, NATO, everybody, Russia, everybody is saying that they need to have an investigation. So these crazy people who are engaged in war, something just happened to them. These are people who have been engaged in war for thousands of years. It's like creating nuclear power until there's a nuclear disaster. Well, until you got nuclear power and it's contained, war up until now, it's been contained. Well, you've only had maybe 6 million Jews sacrificed. You've only had maybe 30 something other million Russians sacrificed, and Polish and other few million Germans, and other, how many millions during World War II were actually sacrificed? And you all didn't learn a goddamn thing from it. You all stepped right back into the same repeat process. And in this repeat process now, it was the nuclear power. It was sort of like a premonition of it exploding World War II. And now it's exploded. No, there's nothing that the world can do about this new level of war that we are at, where all the warmongers themselves now can't even trust war. Because now they're all saying, who did it? In the middle of them all fighting, who was it? Who was it? Was it you? Was it you? Was it you? There's only 5 of them. Who can it be? They all claim it wasn't them. This is a new level of degradation in the collective mind of the white man, of the white people. There is no way now that there will ever be any type of justification or substantiation to the conducts of war. It's impossible now to substantiate this, because when we look at what war has brought us to, it's brought us to the final straw breaking the camel's back of the destruction of the most sacred thing in creation, water. And again, in light of the United Nations saying, hey, you only got until the year 2030. And they said this 5 years ago, and there's only 8 years left. You can only conclude one thing. The white man is completely insane, completely without any kind of logic. They do not function under any kind of logic whatsoever. They are only out for utter destruction of everything. how can there be any logifying? Whatever the acts of war have been so far, how can it logify or justify what has just happened in the Baltic Sea? There's no way to justify, no way to substantiate it. This is now the new level of insanity. So imagine those 5 identities all at war with each other. That means 25 fronts being turned inside out. That's 50. You have 50 levels of insanity that you will never be able to get out of because you are locked only within one of those levels. The schizophrenia is self-inflicted, is created within your own fears, within your own corruption of the God syndrome, where the enemy never exists except for the God that you have created, that creates an enemy in absolutely everything else that is not like your God. And so you are now turned inside out. The official process has begun. It does not matter what anybody thinks about this big deal. I'm saying it. Doesn't matter. Anybody can say, I am wrong. That's fine. Well, coming weeks will reveal this, because this is not months down the road. This is not years down the road. This is days down the road. The insanity is going to multiply. It is going to exponentialize right in front of your eyes, where you are not going to be able to relate any longer to what you have been able to relate to. So we're in this time again. Let me show you it again. We're in this time where the white mind, the white world is turning inside out. Now the white is everywhere. The white has colonized everywhere. So everyone beware. So in this time, what you are going to find you're going to do, what we're going to have to do is now you have to choose your family. We're in that time where you got to choose your family. You got to choose your nation. You got to choose where you were going to stand. You got to choose what you want your integrity to be, where you identify with. This is the reality for everyone on earth now. And it is something that, as you have seen, that even if you want to believe Western media, you know that they have been reporting about some resistance within Russia, about people saying, pulling their support from Vladimir Putin and saying whatever. I mean, you can't really trust the Western media anyways, but you could just imagine maybe somewhere, maybe there is some people standing against him, but this is true Western influence. And that really doesn't matter, as you see. It really doesn't matter. Putin has accomplished what he set out to do. The world could not stop him. This now shifts world power. Now the shift of world power, again, is into a deeper insanity of warmongering that the white man himself could never understand and never hold that. You can't hold the sun in your hands, but they want to try. So it's just going to be now from this point exponentialized insanity. And you're going to watch it tomorrow. Whatever the headlines were today, if you thought it was crazy today, watch. Guaranteed tomorrow morning, you're going to see a doubly crazy headline. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And it ain't going to stop. This is irreversible now. It's the mind that is imploding. So this is worldwide, wherever the white man is. You, if you are white, you yourself, male, if you're male, it's going to have more of this effect on you, of sense of aloneness, sense of helplessness, anger, depression, loneliness. This is the ultimate thing that will be experienced by the white man. It will be loneliness. In the coming days, you're going to watch this yourself. Maybe even right now, some of you might even have experiences that you can relate to this right now. You're going to find within your families that your families are going to come to a stage of either disowning you, or you're going to come to a realization of that you yourself cannot stay connected to your own families, that you will not be able to accept the corruption of your own families now. So this is where we've entered into now. This is as we've been identifying that we're coming into amygdala thinking. And amygdala thinking is survival. And so we're pretty much here. I mean, I don't know what else anyone else in the world would need to be able to identify that we're in a time of survival now. Amygdala thinking. So we look at worldwide. I said earlier today that when we're looking at worldwide and what took place on the world stage with what we're talking about now about Russia, I have to wonder, or I look at it in one of two ways. First way I look at it, it's that it's all AI. It's all artificial intelligence. It's even holographic imaging on the ground. Because it looks like if it's AI, then these storms and all of this would all be working in one concerted effort as it's controlled by one central point somewhere. If it's AI, then we're looking at these storms of realistically looking at this one Ian. How does a hurricane increase its strength once it's on land? This doesn't happen. How are they moving so slow and so seemingly with precision? This Ian is moving with precision, almost like it is a weapon used direct, shot right into the heart of something. And so this is what I am looking at, considering that it's either AI or else Putin has been working within a different vein, a vein of which there was hints or clues of which Hitler was working in the areas of you might say the black arts, black magic, things of this nature, alchemy, which is what women got killed for across Europe hundreds of years ago. You are not up to speed as to the importance of alchemy and what it has been within the non-native world, how it's been utilized as a controlling factor within by male dominance. So alchemy is and always has been something that the white man has always been afraid of, always been scared of. They've always utilized it, but in a way, the same way that the story of so-called King Arthur and what was his Merlin. Merlin goes the same as the story of King Solomon and his witch of, it was either Enoch or I forget what his witch's name was now. But they both used the witch to rise to power. And once they rose to power, they all denounced that witchcraft. They all said no, they outlawed it, that only they could use it. And this is where what it looks like to me, what I am looking at, who in our either has AI on his side, he's controlling weather and stuff like this, or else he's following in the vein of Hitler and many others. Everyone who's at war, whoever been at war, all followed that vein of trying to use their delve into the black arts, trying to use that alchemy to find that ultimate weapon. And so for myself to look at it this way, I would not entertain that idea unless from within my own mind, unless there was justification. If there was no justification to it, no evidence leaning that way, I wouldn't say that. But it looks like there is evidence leaning this way. And even if there isn't, even if it just looks like it, then it's because that the status quo practice of war, conventional war and all of that, this is now subsiding, like it's reached its limit in like the pendulum swinging. It ain't gonna go any further this way now. Now it's going back, which means it's changing. That everything that pendulum came through and established as this is through war, now it's coming back through and it's going to rip it all apart. So no matter what, we are at a what do you call it? An epoch in human history of our evolution, where we have a double evolution to deal with. An evolution of where naturally, physically things are evolving. You eat something and it has its effects through osmosis through you, like to evolve something over a period of time. But now we have an evolution of which we are in control of. We now command our state of intellectual evolution. So you will stay stupid. That's a guarantee. If you are locked into the ridiculousness of the male dominance of false man-made religion, false man-made political systems of democracy, false man-made corruptions of war. If you are subdued by any of these things, participant in it, believing in it, then your mind is not going to make it through this process. Meaning you are not going to make it through this process. Now, am I identifying some kind of process that is immeasurable or something that is invisible? Well, you may think so until it's actually here. And again, the evidence of this was just a month ago. Well, who would have thought that there would be millions of people, and maybe now into the hundreds of millions of people worldwide, on an actual apocalyptic walk? Who would have thought that a month ago? Just one moon ago. Nobody would have thought that. But yet here we are now, just a moon later. And a moon ago, you didn't have this option of being there, talking about it, saying, hey, let's compare this time right now to a moon from now. You don't have that option. But we do have that option. We have that option by continuously staying updated through this process and council processes and other processes of constantly staying updated, up to speed with things, to where you're not taken off guard or surprised by something. Where, as you know, we even warn people in advance of what to do, how to prepare. And so, if we're wrong about this, then what's the consequences? What are we telling you to prepare? What do you got to do? Well, the only thing you got to do here, you got to prepare, is to pull yourself out of corruption. Pull your mind out of corruption. Let's see, is that a big investment? Is that something that without us saying this to you, that you wouldn't be doing that yourself, but is it too much of an investment for you to do? Like, say for instance, you gotta take your family on vacation, and you're planning a budget. You gotta plan for the winter holidays, all of this and that. Can you afford to do something else, whatever it is? Can you afford to, if we're saying, hey, be prepared, flood is coming, can you afford to go and buy some rubber boots to take a few dollars out of that money that you have budgeted for the regular parts of your life. Well, no, you can't, because you won't believe that we are saying that this is what's going to come, so that you are not going to place any kind of value in this to say, well, I better take action then. But if you're following us, if you're with us, then you know a moon ago, we're basically talking about all of this. And we're basically pretty much almost like laying it out for you step by step, like a prediction. To you, it's a prediction. And well, here's these things unfolding right in front of our eyes that we talk about. Anybody on earth can talk about these things and say that, and it almost looks like they're predicting. No, there's no predicting. We all know 1 and 1 makes 2. So we all know you pour fire and throw a match there, it is going to be an explosion. There's no fooling anybody in this process. So the larger reality of what's happening is that in the white world, there is a blockage. We are in the greatest collective psychosis ever in the history of all humanity. And the psychosis is cognitive dissonance, where everyone on earth knows precisely their actions are wrong and knows what the cause and effects of their actions are, what the outcome is going to be. Everybody knows. So everybody is in the collective psychosis of cognitive dissonance. Now, this is a social construct of the non-native world, of the non-native mind. It cannot be any other way. So anyways, these are the things that we're watching play out in front of us. This is what I am personally warning you about right now, tonight, of that you got a lot of planning, a lot of preparation to get ready for it. Those of you that have been with us in the last moon, you know that through the law recital, we've been explaining to you anyways about the things to prepare for, and like how to prepare. Your mind is what's got to be prepared. The proper thinking is what's got to be created in your mind. It means you got to do restructuring within your own mind, within your own thinking process, to be able to be on the right side of things, to be on the side of love. Because it's coming down very fast, very rapidly. The whole world will see that it's war against love. It's war against us, against the fiber of our being, against the fiber of creation. It's some man-made thing that has been given some kind of mechanical energy of its own, empowering itself, overpowering the minds of men to go against the very fiber of our creation. This is war against love. It is against love. We got to understand this, that it's to go against love. It's a psychological process. You are all subjected to a psychological process. You just don't realize it. You don't understand when that psychology is coming at you, when it's being thrown at you. So you don't understand where you have to fight it off, where you got to defend yourself, what you got to do to fortify yourself against these things. And so the last moon of the law recital was to assist people within this area, to make people, give people a fighting chance against whatever is at our doorstep. And whether you believe it or not, that something is at our doorstep, well, if you think that it's business as usual, and like you think from the time that we were kids, we just thought forever. Nobody ever heard of any kind of deadlines or anything, huh, when we were kids. Did anybody ever hear of a deadline? I never heard of any deadlines when I was a kid. I never heard that as a collective, that humanity had a deadline in which to do something. So when we were younger, just remember that our minds were oblivious, completely oblivious to the actions you were doing. You could not know. It was impossible. You could know, but to yourself, again, we're in cognitive dissonance. Everyone chose not to know. So just think of this now. Let's extrapolate when we were young, 50 years ago, looking forward. Hey, we only see forever, right? Let's put that us in the here and now. What are we seeing now? We're only seeing 8 years. 8 years. There's a deadline. This is a different kind of psychology that's being used upon you in order to get you to sit there dormant. Well, there's only 8 years left in which to do something. Trust the science everybody's been saying over the past 2 years. Well, every scientist on earth said in the year 2017, based on every survey going back even 100 years, they compiled all that information and identified that we only have until the year 2030 to reverse all of this stuff that humanity has done. Not humanity, but what the white European has done. And here we are 5 years after, no action taken. Why do you think that is? That's because you are in a psychosis. What happens to a deer when they're frozen in the headlights? Does a deer know that while they're looking at the headlights that they're all of a sudden, a second later, they're going to get obliterated by a truck or a car or something? Does a deer know that? I don't think they know that. But I don't think a deer has the power of deduction that we do. Or do they? A deer has the power of deduction to be able to stay alive within creation where there's something coming at them every second from every corner, that they're always constantly on their awareness, always constantly ready to jump, ready to move, ready to take action to save their lives. Now let's compare humans to deers. You know what? Humans compared to deers are completely stupid then, because deers can stay alive. But when a deer is caught in the headlights of a car, this is not anything of a natural that is that this deer is dealing with now. What it's dealing with now is internally, the deer cannot determine if it is a threat or not, cannot deduce what to do, the action to take, how to if it's to save itself or whatever. The deer cannot determine that. So this tells you that that bright light in the eyes at that moment of that deer puts that deer in a state of psychosis, preventing the deer from acting properly, like to be able to say, I better get the hell out of here and jump out of the headlights. This is where all of humanity is right now. They're in a state of psychosis, unable to accept you are in that scenario. You're like a deer frozen in the headlights of a car on the highway. You're about to get hit. You're about to get obliterated. So this is what we identify what is coming. This is what we read from today's actions in the world. Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing that anybody's got on any level, we're not gonna just stay around to talk for no reason. Again, for here in over the past moon and a half now, just about, very tiring here. We've been engaged in law recital, even though we started like it's just a little over a moon. We were engaged in it all summer, and we're tired, and we're still kind of in it. We're still in the tail end of it, in that energy. So if there is nothing, then we're just going to call it a night. Take advantage of okay, there's somebody here that wants to say something.
I'll introduce myself. Scamangola, Merrick Yojats, Yojat Paula, Yonjat and Yutna, Yotiskadewagi. So my name is Merrick. I'm the son of Paula. I'm under the temporary protection of the Bear Clan, the Five Nations Longhouse Confederacy. I have kind of a carryover question from the law recital. And it's about the numbers. So my question is, how does 6 become 5 and how does 5 become 1? I didn't get that answer.
Okay, well, I'm not going to tell you. This is something that you got to learn. The fact is that all of these things that we do identify, how 6 becomes 5, 5 becomes 1. That we provide all of the groundwork or the tools for anyone to discover these things. Now, you yourself, you haven't been exposed to the ceremonies where this would be revealed to you. This is only within the bowl game. Now, within the creation story, this goes back to when the twins walked on the turtle's back and basically split the one cell and kept going through the process. Each time that they done this, this was the game played between them. It was the bowl game. And it's played with 6 peach pits. So it comes down to this, that if you get 6 on one side are all black and 6 on the other side, they're all white on one side, black on the other. So if you get 6, then that gives you 5 beans from your opponent's side. Where we all start off with 50 beans in this game. So if you get 6, then your opponent has to give you 5 beans. If you get 5 and just 1 is a different color, then that will get you 1 bean. So 5 will get you 1 there, and 6 will get you 5. But this is not just quite simply a reference to a game. This is, again, keep your mind in the whole conversation of transmissions and shifting and how you got to think on many different levels of how within a 4-speed, the first gear over here might be 17 spline, then the next one might be 34 and then 70 something, you know, but each of these gears then are thinking or functioning on these different levels of as to the teeth of the other gear that they have to match. You know, so they got to think on different levels. You, the individual, has to think on these different levels. Again, as you know, that we said, you got to constantly think on from 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 9, 13, 28, 48, 96. This is a transmission, shifting all the way through its gears. So just like if you're just driving to the store, sometimes you might even have a very slow shift. And sometimes if you're racing, you're speed shifting, you're just going. You got to be able to think on all these levels in an instance in order to be able to function on, let's say, if you're going into council, if you're going into ceremony, if you're going into meeting specific about garden or something of a political, in the political spectrum. So many levels the mind has to be thinking on constantly because, again, we are multidimensional beings, and I must be within law, within this dimension. I must be within law in every dimension that I am flowing within. And so the mind has to be able to perceive and think of on all those different levels. That because it's almost like almost not like a direct physical link, more of a spiritual. If you're not on the level of law, on that spiritual level, then you won't be able to make that physical transition to it. It's kind of like being in school, you know, like, well, you failed this test. Maybe you passed this one, but then you failed the other ones during the year. Well, then at the end of the year, you know, everything's all assessed and the person doesn't pass. Is it based on just one thing, or is it an overview of everything? It's an overview of everything of that person. So they failed the class. They fail. They don't get to move on. So if we don't have our minds functioning properly on all these different realms of existence, then you fail over here, you fail over here, fail over there. And you just consider right now, how many areas have just yourself, focus on you. where you have failed on. Maybe not that you personally have failed, but where these links are not able to be there now because they have failed. These links of understanding that connect you to reality of things of which you've come to know since you've been here in the lobby side. Things that you wouldn't be able to say, I don't know if this is a proper word, but to get us to a proper understanding here, things that you wouldn't have been able to tangify, to make them tangible in understanding yourself. Tangify. I think that's a new word. So, I don't know if that answers your question. You would have to see the ball game to really know it, because it's a flow of energy. It's a flow of energy that the person is exposed to. And when the person is exposed to it, they can work with that energy. You can actually, through sound resonance, merge with that energy. Now, does that sound crazy? Or does that sound like science? That's science. Because we all know that with sound, we can resonate and align our resonation with other things, resonation. We can align with that. And does that do anything? Is that a good thing? If we're resonating on the same levels of, let's say, of a tree, or of a whale, or of a buffalo, is it a good thing if we're resonating on those same levels? Well, only you would be able to identify that. I'll say it's a good thing. For somebody else, they might just look at it as something trivial, like I'd be focusing my energy in areas that are a waste of time. I should be focusing my energy on Wall Street or something like that. So you need to be, like anybody, of course, exposure more to, just like learning how to play a game. You can hear the rules, but then let's get into it and see, and we'll learn from the hands-on. So as far as that goes right now there, for you to comprehend how you get 5 from 6, you get 6 peach pits, all one color, you get 5 beans. You get 5 beans, all one color, and 1 just another color, you get 1 bean. So even that knowledge right there, I know it doesn't really do you much good until you'll get there and you'll understand it. Which will be, you'll only notice when you'll get there, it's kind of like having a hidden key. Maybe you're going this big journey all your life and you get to an end thing and you got to have a key to start a vehicle or get through a door or something. And you're thinking like, where the hell am I going to get this key? And then to realize that you've had it all along. So to expose to just this number, you now know something that when you get to a juncture in your life, you're going to be able to answer something that you didn't even know you got the background into answer. You know how to get 5 from 6. You know how to get 1 from 5. Even though you may not have grasped the whole concept of it right now, you have the foundation to it. So from here, it's from theory into the field.
Yeah, that's good for now.
That's really as far as it can go right now until you see the ball game. Yeah. Okay.
There's 2 person that has to speak already, France and Elsa that has to speak, and it's 8:22.
Okay, let's go then. Who's first?
France.
Hello, tout le monde. Hi, everyone. I'm France, granddaughter of Armeline, granddaughter of Angelina, daughter of Giselle, mother of Rémi Ago and Jean-Sébastien, grandmother of Jacob and Michael. I'm sorry I missed the first part because we went with to take the apples in the trees today with my kids and grandkids. So they were leaving when you guys started. So I missed the beginning, but I just wanted to say that we really enjoyed the level of I don't know how to say that. Is it an improvement or a level of exchanging knowledge on a different basis? I don't know. There's, of course, the emergency is so. I think if somebody missed that, they're very asleep. And yeah, well, a lot of us won't make it, you know. But it's nice to see that something's going to happen. Then maybe there's a chance for everybody to create the world we want to live in. It's not necessarily easy to speak your mind, but it's mostly more difficult to share your heart. This is the key. It's the only key. There's no other key. But the heart is turning to stone for a lot of us. We don't know how to get it back to beaten normally to the rhythm of love. But we can do it. It's just not that difficult. It's less difficult. Maybe it's as hard as just dying stupid and with no reason. And I think it could be the same kind of difficulties, but the end result is what matters, it seems. So anyway, I just wanted to say I love this kind of talks. It's very inspiring. And I want to thank you all for participating in it. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, some of these hardships, you know, like we don't see hardships like other people are seeing. Like, we're not in Florida right now. So imagine the hardships of the people there. You know, imagine the hardships of the people in Pakistan who have been for almost a month now living in water. You know, a third of their country, 30 million people struggling to survive. Imagine where you don't have shelter over your head, where you got to sleep in the elements, in the rain, you know, stuff like this. You know that people got it really, really hard. And here at home, well, here where we are, well, the hardships we got is still it's hardships, you know, like a lot of people are being confronted with homelessness right now. Over the last 2 years, everybody's the economy, everybody's livelihood has been attacked, where everybody's money was stolen out of their pockets and put into the pockets of billionaires over the past 2 years, which means the majority of people are dirt ass poor, unable to even pay their rent. A lot of people unable to feed themselves. Now, this puts a lot of people in a predicament of that. Well, they got maybe grandchildren or nieces or nephews or children. They're not going to be telling their children or whoever, their dependents, of the hardships. They're just going to be sacrificing their own health. You know, like, well, maybe I'm not going to eat tonight. I got to feed my kids. So I'll starve tonight while my kids eat. Oh, I'll freeze tonight and maybe get frostbite to keep my kids cold, keep my kids warm. You know, so this is where we are starting to be confronted with this here now. And it's going to get worse as time goes on each year. That people are going to be confronted with, remember, this was just last year. A guy, a native guy, frozen to death in the shit house on the streets of Montreal, right outside of a street with all houses on it. It's not. It wasn't in a commercial area. You know, where like, oh well, there's just buildings there. You know, the person couldn't seek out warmth or help or anything. He died on a private street, froze to death in a shit house, where there's all houses lining that street. This is that was a wake-up call to so-called Montreal. And remember what Montreal done to their homeless people who were living in tents, living along the road on the way on that little park on the way to the big old P&F Boulevard on Notre Dame. What did Montreal do to them?
You bulldoze it.
They
Bulldoze
bulldozed them.
This is a reflection of the people here. The people of so-called Montreal are animals.
But you know, when you add to this the intentional part, this is becoming evil, like anything you can even
Yeah.
imagine.
But this is not anything to get upset about. It's not something to get down about. You know who gets affected by it? Are the people who are not paying attention.
Hmm.
If you don't pay attention and you get washed away in the flood because you're too dumb, you walk out onto the ocean when you see the water receding. Oh, if you're that dumb, you don't know that means there's a tsunami coming. Well, then you get washed away. You can't have any level of sympathy for those people. So the reality of right now is that what we are being confronted with is it's a great moment in our evolution. We are confronted with evolving, with becoming smart or staying stupid. We are either gonna evolve or devolve at this point.
Sure.
There is no other thing that's gonna happen. And the tables are tipped in favor of devolution. Everybody's going that way. So it won't mean that creation will devolve. It'll just mean that the majority of 7 billion people will be washed out. Because they're just stupid. They're just too goddamn stupid. They don't fit in to this thing of life. They're going against it. If you're going against it, you don't fit in here. So you could warn people, say, hey, stop doing that. But people haven't stopped doing that. The white man has not stopped his ways, and no matter what, even in light of his own science saying, stop this, he is not stopping. So no matter what, anyone can deduce that the white man is on a one-way ticket to hell. He has been running to the gates of hell, and he is kicking in those gates. He's wanting hell to pour out all over him. This is what the white man wants. And so it is right now, when we look at that lizard with all the dead skin on it, and it's about ready to shed its skin completely, there is the final release, the final chemical release from each skin cell. Now, in our bodies, where is there a chemical release? In the brain. That's where the chemical release is. So this is what was said, is that right now, the mind of the white people and the exemplification of this, how to gauge it, is through what Putin and Biden has said today. This is where, in the mind of the white people being turned inside out, this is psychological. This is where all of the chemical to release now, the final release, it's happening now. This is what it takes. It takes one end of the spectrum of what Putin identified today and what Biden identified today. Those guys are brothers. Look at them. Look at them and put them side by side. They're brothers. I bet you if you looked at their genealogy, going back, you would find that they're of the same damn family. This is the schizophrenia of the white man. It's complete. That they have no clue of who they are now. They've colonized themselves around the world, that the white man that's here doesn't even know that he's a Brit, doesn't even know that he's a German, doesn't even know that he's a Russian. And the Russians don't even know. They think that this guy over here is an American, whatever the hell that is. What an American is them, with just a different tweak to their psychosis. Okay, anyways, let's move on then. We got Elsa there too.
I just want to add something my son said to us yesterday. He was saying that I don't think we have a choice now to live or don't live with AI. It's everywhere, no matter what you do. If you have somebody that's been injected near you, he's an antenna for everything they want to know about you. So even if you never did, it will trace you anyway. And he was saying we have to be the one putting something in there. So they have to deal with it, like Great Law of Peace or something like that. That was fun to hear. This is
All right.
Go ahead, Elsa. We don't hear you, Elsa. Looks like your microphone doesn't work.
Oh, wow. No, we can't hear you,
We see that you speak.
but her microphone isn't off. We can see it there.
I know, but it looks like it doesn't work.
So then your microphone on your computer mustn't be working. Check your microphone.
Do you have something plugged on your, like a earphone plug or something like that? Sometimes it affected the mic.
No. No, no sound at all.
Sorry.
No. Okay, see if you can figure it out, and we'll be here for a few more minutes anyways, and if you can, then we'll go to you.
Maybe go out and come back in.
Yeah, maybe log out and come back in, Elsa.
Okay, in the meantime, we'll go to Mary Claude.
Do I go back? As you wish.
Hello, I'm Marie-Claude, the great-granddaughter of Marie-Louise, the granddaughter of Yvette, and the daughter of Francine, temporary Bear Clan representative in the Life Givers Nation. I just want to share my experience throughout that recital, the 22-day recital we sat through. It was an amazing honor again to be exposed to so much knowledge, so much science, fact, to understand where we come from with the creation story, where the original people were at, living in community, being able to assess really their circumstances and be able to deliberate, and they have this amazing structure of how we are to interact in this world. And to me, it's so clear that us non-native world we're desperate to get guidance. And this is the only place we can get it from the original people that stay true to their identity. It's only when we're exposed to another reality that we can really assess. And that's what, being 22 days, just focus on that, focus on the reality of creation, because the great law of peace is the law of nature. So everything that is structure within it is just natural, is to get back to our voice, to get back to being able to understand what's going on in this world. As non-native, it's just such, having been exposed to those teachings for so many years, I know where I was completely lost. I'm not saying I'm able to see where this is going. I'm openly say that I need this guidance from the original people of Turtle Island to know, to be able to decipher all the lies, everything that is being told to us from kindergarten, everything you see in the media, every so-called representative are lying to us. What is this machination of having to reveal all the veils to know really what they're telling us or what they are announcing to the world? It's just lie after lie after lie. And they make us participate in this. So us non-native, we are the force behind what they can affect in this world, the destruction of our environment, of our Mother Earth, of life itself. We are part of it. If we knew exactly what our tax dollar was going to say, your $1, well, 10 cents will go to destroy those rivers 25 cents will go to kill those native children. It's exactly what's happening. We are the driving force behind that. We need to wake up. We really need to wake up and get humble enough to see that we were manipulated. But then nowadays we know there's no question about it of the state of the world. And there's a choice there. Do we want to be part of that? And so I really am, to me, it was the third recital. It was the second official recital, 2017. I also sat through it. And then there was the recital for the Life Givers Nation, and then this other one. And it's just even stronger confirmation that the entire world needs to hear those truths. So yeah, just to say that, you know, and also a few words about our Grandma Moon, because throughout the creation story that this Longhouse can offer the world, we see then what's important, where is our place. You know, there's a very clear evolution of things, and there's a very clear place we have in this also. And when we see that, first there's the spirit, and then there's our Grandma Moon that gives us our water. We see how important she is, and we are also participating in the attack that our Grandma Moon is receiving as we speak. They have now extracted some minerals, and they are now after her to go and extract something that they think they might be doing nuclear. And we know that nuclear is not the good news, but they're speculating right now with all of your energy, all the life that you spend working. They're now going to take that money and go to our Grandma Moon to extract her minerals, and that's insanity. And they claim that it's good for the environment, but it's absolutely no good. How can you claim something that just the shuttle itself made of aluminum, the fuel that pushes those shuttles is also aluminum? It's been, there's all kinds of people speaking against that, because the ozone layer gets attacked in so many different ways. And of course, there's no studies right now being done, and we know it's going to take years to actually tell us that they're destroying our ozone layers. So, and they claim that this is good for us. So, you know, it's really time for us non-naked to wake up and stop giving our life to destruction. And I absolutely believe that the key to this is the great law of peace that is so old, as proven without a doubt that in times of war, you can reestablish peace. And this is where I put all my energy right now. And I'm grateful for the Kanien'kehá:ka Traditional Council for staying true to their identity for this. So thank you for this.
You know, along these lines of what you just talked in general, I just heard a very stupid thing that I'm sure everybody across the country's heard. There's an advertisement across Canada that's saying, come on, everybody, go out and vote. Let's make the change. Now, who's saying that? Let's make the change. Is that the government? What entity is saying that? Right now, is everyone in the country not comfortable with what their government is? Why do they need to make a change? Why say, let's make the change? Okay, but then when they say, let's make the change, what do I tell you to go and do? They tell you to, let's go out and vote. How can you make a change when you go out and do the same exact thing that everyone else has done that got everybody into the mess that we're in? This is the psychology, the psychosis that's at work here. To be able to know, you all know, you've all heard the fact of that science identifies that if you keep repeating a process over and over and expect a different outcome, that's a definition of insanity. Well, let's see, collective insanity. They say, whoever they is, go out and vote. First, they say, let's make the change. Go out and vote. This is collective insanity. It's a psychosis that each individual goes through, that for some, it's rooted in fear, because for 4 years, all of you, every non-native person is fed up with your government. For 4 years, you're all talking about how it's all bullshit, it's all nonsense, how they're all a bunch of lawyers, but then at the end of those 4 years, yous are all stupid enough to go back and do the exact same thing again, to create those exact same circumstances over. So by definition, all the white people, all the people of democracy are all collectively insane, because they all expect a different outcome by the same goddamn process. So there is something that is really seriously wrong with the white people. And as we know, there's something wrong in the psyche. So this is what we have to deal with. Everybody has to deal with this, not just me. The white people have to deal with this. This is them having this psychosis. If you realize that you're having a psychosis, wouldn't you want to come out of it? Wouldn't you want to no longer be in a state of psychosis? Or would you just accept it? Well, I'm crazy, so I might as well just be even crazier. This is like what the drive is today. Okay, anyways, let's go on to Elsa then. Did you got your microphone fixed? No, we still can't hear you.
Maybe she could call me on my phone and then I
Oh,
put
yeah,
it.
that's a good idea.
Call me on my phone,
Call her.
Elsa.
Yeah, you
I
call me.
can call her. I will call you.
Hang on, Angel's gonna call you. And we'll see if we can hold the phone next to the thingamajig.
Okay.
You should mute your sound though.
Mom.
Yeah, mute your sound. Mute your sound on your computer.
It's her volume.
Yeah, your
No, she-
no, not your microphone. Your sound. Mute the audio.
Yeah, the volume has to be right down.
Yeah, because we hear an echo. Not your microphone. Your sound.
The
Speaker.
volume.
Volume speaker. Cut the sound on your computer.
Alright. Alright. So, for me, more about the comment in question. I was listening to it when you were talking about the numbers with America, and talking about how you need 6 to have 5 and 5 to have 1 at the game ball, at the ball game, I mean. And for me, it made me think about the jewel dance or rabbit dance, or I don't know how you call it, but to transcend. So you need to go forward twice and backward once. Me, it remind me of this, of the adjustment to the mind that has to be made to attain balance. So the numbers made me think of the dance film. And to finish with what you're saying, as if the wind mind doesn't take one step forward order to move on to evolve. So I feel as if humans are lacking a perspective. Perspective, maybe spiritual perspective, because for me, this is when this is the trend that comes from us open the transcendence of what humans have. So they have they can be transcend completely or give them effort. We life we don't jump. But I don't know. Maybe it's my meaning anyway. That's why, yeah, so numbers made me think about that.
Mhm.
That's all I wanted to add.
Okay, it's not the. Okay, it's not the best, wait, I'll wait for her to turn her volume back up. So she can hear
So
us.
put your volume up now. I'll mute my phone.
She already hung up the phone. Huh?
No.
Oh. Okay, all right, it's not the best, way to do this. It was a little bit hard for me to hear everything that you were saying, but I hear you talking about the numbers. And we know that numerology is a thing, you know, that many people, many different cultures identify numerology. You know, if numerology is a design or if it's just the outcome, the byproduct of something. You know, it really doesn't matter, but numerology is something that is detectable. You can detect that certain numbers mean certain things. They add up to certain things. So in the Great Law of Peace, we see a lot of numbers. We see a lot of divisions of physical matter. We see a lot of categorizations, which can place somebody within many different collectives. You know, like you can break you and I down to, we can say we are part of one collective. So you and I are part of Native people. And then we can say, well, you're a female, I'm a male, Native people. And then, well, you're of one nation, I'm of another nation. And then I'm of a clan, you're in another clan. So we could see many different concentric circles overlapping over our realities. And within physical matter, these are built almost like it might be better for us to think of bricks, like a brick house. So in a brick house, there is a certain amount of bricks that are used. So whether it's by design of saying we're going 100 bricks, the width of this wall, or if it just happens to be that it ends out to be 100 bricks or 99 bricks. That the end result is that the amount of bricks that are in that wall of our specific creation can be broken down, can be categorized, subjected to these different concentric circles. These are realities. Now, there is also there is positive and negative to numerology. Numerology can be used positively in constructing something, but then if you're just numerologizing any old time, you know, then this could actually be something of an addiction that will actually overpower somebody in their life. You know, we've all heard of people getting caught up in numerology. You know, there's even movies. There was a movie about it. Jim Carrey made a movie about it. I forget what the name of that movie was, but he was stuck in numbers. He was only counting numbers, seeing numbers all the time until his world fell apart. Because the reality is, yes, all of this is numbers. Just like in computer land, it's all numbers, but those numbers put together in certain ways create images. So here, the numbers we're looking at in the physical reality are the numbers of the periodic table of the numbers of protons, neutrons, electrons, turtle, wolves, and bears. That alters a certain thing, changes it to be this. If it's 3 electrons within a turtle, it's one thing. 3 electrons within a bear, it's another. 3 electrons in a wolf, that's another thing. Actually alters those amounts of electrons. Where it might be just like in modern day government, you have a so-called government, but then there is a shadow government that we all know exists. So this is how it works on that level of with numbers on the scale of turtle, wolf, and bear, protons, neutrons, and electrons. Those things can alter, they can shift, they can adjust. So for a person to get stuck into numerology, have their mind too much into it, this can become a very negative thing because there is no actual putting your finger on it, because it can jump, it can change. You know, the positive can become negative, just the way that the poles on our Mother Earth shift. So it can become a dangerous thing to be locked into a certain numerological belief. It could be a negative. Anyways, numbers are important. We see numbers all over the place. We see these concentric circles throughout the Longhouse. You know, again, like gears in a transmission, they shift us from one speed to the next. But like you said, you can't fly unless you jump. So that's it. But knowing you're not going to be able to get into high gear unless you can shift, unless you know how to go from 6 to 5, from 5 to 1, and from 3 to 9, and 13 to 28. And just saying these numbers, you know, well, it could confuse anybody. And you could just think, well, you're just using any old random numbers. But we know that through law, we're not using random numbers. We're using numbers that are a realistic foundation through turtle, wolf, and bear to all physical matter. So in that sense, if you're working conducively to work conducively, then numerology is something that will naturally flow out of you without even knowing it, that you'll be doing this, or maybe even this. Without realizing that this is numbers, that it's numerology, because it's an amount of protons, neutrons, and electrons combined with other ones to create this sound. Can't get more numerologistic than that. Numerology is in everything. Anyways, it's a good thing to be aware of, but it's also a bad thing to let that overpower you. We're here in this world where all those small numbers are at our foundation, but at the critical mass of collective physical matter that we're at, then those, if we delve too much into that, we'll be tearing ourselves apart. We'll be dissecting our physical reality. So there is a certain point where you get to critical mass, where your mind has to now function on this larger level. Don't allow it to slip back into this lower level, because it can actually be a negative to you. You'll tear your own mind apart. You'll dissect your own self till the person disappears. And that's kind of like that, what happened in that movie with Jim Carrey. If any of you know that movie, check it out, you know, it's about numerology, if you're interested in that kind of thing. Okay, nothing else, then, we're gonna call it a night.
It's 9
Okay, let's see, is there anything that I'm missing?
We were supposed to talk about how to have proper sex tonight.
Oh, yeah, that was on the schedule.
Yeah, but we had time to tell you before, so.
Yeah, okay, that's not gonna happen now. So we're gonna have to revisit this, but it's really too close to the law recital still
Okay.
to really shift gears. We're still in law recital gear right now. It'll take a little while to come down out of this. Okay, so anyways, anything coming up? What's coming up? On Monday, I think we're back in the schools. I'm not sure where, but we're back in the school on Monday doing something. And and on Tuesday, supposed to be in court again for my truck, for my court case. So I'm not sure yet if we're physically going there or if we're gonna be able to be present just through what they call Teams, you know, like via the internet. So by Monday, we're on that. If anybody's interested, we'll inform you. And on Tuesday, we'll be doing a whatever, if we're there, a live feed or something about our court
It's
case.
Wednesday on the 5th.
Oh, it's Wednesday?
Yeah, it's the 5th. So
Oh, it's the fifth.
I
Okay,
wasn't sure.
it's the 5th, Wednesday. All right. Okay, so that's it. All right. Boy, I ook at again, ha, yet die soort te gaan, ha. Nee, ro, no, de hetsto, me gonna go hier, dat die hava kwe. Dan daw jag on hetsa, dat gazak stassera, ne ganungwe. Dan daw jag on hetsa, asat ni gat daar again, kan jag haga. Radinato, no, nata runi, dan riskereoge. Dan daw jag on hetsa, ne aguego on agoro, gayana lasera go on eskana. Dan daw jag on hetsa, ne Ori huio, kai wa gori shunsira, dana gata stansira, dana gayanda wana, ne gani gu rio. Doga tena na hoda ya daksa. Ja. De sawit, de sawit, de sawit. Kenya has a way to need Joanna. Ja, we go. Danzi jadaka, sasadios. See everybody later. Ona.
Bunny boy. I love